Hi, my name is John Nguyen, and I am an oral and maxillofacial surgeon here at Peninsula Oral Surgery and Implants in Torrance, California. A fun fact about myself is that when I'm not busy with oral surgery or being a new dad, I am on a quest to be the best backyard barbecuer. And fortunately, my wife totally supports it because it helps get dinner together. Yeah, so I grew up in an immigrant family that spoke no English or at best broken English. And they came here with really nothing other than optimism and a desire really to have a better future for themselves and their kids. Um, you know, growing up, my parents worked really hard. As for as long as I can remember throughout my childhood, my dad always worked two jobs until he finally saved up enough to have his own business. And even then, he was always at the shop. So I really learned the value of hard work through seeing him there. But he had a really pronounced influence on me and how I practice today. I think that my obsession with perfecting my craft and transparency and fairness to my patients really stems from seeing how he operated his business. And I still remember him telling me, we're here to make money, but we're not here to cheat people. And, that just really resonated with me and something I still remember to this day. So during college, I volunteered at the Berkeley Free Clinic, and it really helped shape who I am today as a person and as an oral surgeon. Even though I grew up in an immigrant household, by the time I came around, I was fortunate enough that my family was no longer impoverished. I find myself very fortunate. I had everything I needed and some of the things that I wanted. But my 2.5 years at the Berkeley Free Clinic, it was really special because it was not only my first time that I was able to take care of patients, but it also allowed me to closely work with an underserved population. Um, and through this interaction, it really opened my eyes to see how many barriers people face in their access to care, even for the simplest of services. And although the issue of access to care is really complex and not something that I think I personally could solve, um, what I took away from my time at the BFC is this immense responsibility I feel towards my patients and my community. Um, I understand how vulnerable patients feel when they walk through the doors of our practice and how much trust they put in us when they allow us to provide care for them. So I feel that I owe it to them to give them the best possible outcome. Outside of oral surgery, I spend a lot of time barbecuing and smoking his various meats at home, whether it's brisket or ribs, chicken, lamb, you name it. And in one sense, smoking is really simple, right? You just light a fire and heat up meat with indirect heat and until it reaches a certain temperature or tenderness, and you're good to go. You're ready to eat. But when you start going down this black hole of barbecue, you realize there's so many variables that affect the outcome, whether it's wood type, temperature, resting style, meat preparation. You can go on and on and on. And they all have a profound effect on how that barbecue tastes. And I find that really similar to my practice here, particularly with implants. In a sense, is really simple. You raise a flat, you drill a small hole, and you place the implant in, and you're done. Um, but as I've chased perfection in my practice, I've come to realize that there are just so many factors, so many variables that you have to account whenever you do an implant case to really give the patient the best possible outcome and one that will last for many years, that is trouble-free. Whenever I meet a patient during our initial consultation, I find it really important to take the time to talk to them to really understand their needs, their complaints, and a little bit of their financial situation because I want to come up with a tailored treatment plan for them that will really help them achieve all their objectives. And I guess an example of that is most recently I had a patient come in and she was referred to extract two upper teeth, a premolar and a molar that were adjacent to each other. And, she obviously wanted to restore this teeth with implants because who doesn't? But she had some financial limitations. So when I examined her, I noticed that not only was she missing the molar behind the tooth we were going to take out, but she was also missing the second molar on the opposing jaw. So therefore, even though she had a molar that I was extracting, it was really only about two-thirds in function. So typically, for most patients, they would extract two teeth and then they would want two teeth back with two implants. Um, but I discussed with her, hey, this molar is really only two-thirds in function. So if I put two implants for you, well, that next tooth will also only be two-thirds in function. So what we came up with for her as a compromise is we placed one implant, but instead of making it premolar sized tooth, which is smaller, we gave it a molar sized tooth, which then gave her function that was pretty close to what she started with, but at half the cost.